don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. And we sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman, because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. So, I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this 339th episode of the Political Spotlight. How are you doing? I hope you're having a great evening. Hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful night. We've got so much to cover, ladies and gentlemen. I've got people that are like calling me and ringing my phone off the hook. We've got people wanting to talk about, there was a police officer who's arrested over in Anderson for touching little children. Not good, not good. It seemed like he was doing something, sending messages or something. He was a creep. Let's say that. He was a creep. And he's put out on his own recognizance. We've got some weirdness going on with a commissioner down in, let me tell you where we're talking about now. We've got some weirdness going on with the Commissioner John Jessup down in Hancock County. We've got some weirdness going on in Henry County. I have some people contacting me about state government things. Everything is really just popping off the chain right now. It honestly seems as if it's like 2 weeks before the election. It just seems real crazy. But all of that is going to have to wait, because we had a 5-hour-long we had a 5-hour-long Delaware County Council meeting today. So that's going to be the majority of what we talk about. We are going to be joined by a guest here in just a few moments. You will either love or hate it. There is no in between. That guest is America's Councilman Ryan Webb. We'll be joining with him in just a moment. But hey, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. We know you could be anywhere, and we appreciate that. If you're watching live, thank you, thank you, thank you. I would ask that you do us a favor. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and get subscribed. That will allow you to click the bell to get notified when we go live and all that stuff. That would be great. If you're watching live, comment over here on the right-hand side. If you're not watching live and you're watching in the future via replay on YouTube, on Rumble or whatnot, well, go ahead and subscribe then too. If you haven't got subscribed, do so. Comment down below, and no matter when you're watching, share the show with everyone you know. That helps out. Give us a like, give us a thumbs up, help us feed the algorithm monsters. That would be fantastic. That's the way the show grows. Okay, so we're going to get right into it. We're getting ready to bring on Ryan. The name of tonight's episode is Permanent Delaware County. I was talking to Ryan earlier, and I thought, that is a great name for the show. Tonight's episode is called Permanent Delaware County. What could that mean? What does that mean? Well, we will bring Ryan on. We're gonna do a thing tonight where we watch some of the meeting and talk to Ryan, go back and forth, just to hit some of the high points, the highlights, and there were many. I wrote down times and events earlier in the day when I was watching this thing live. I thought this meeting was maybe going to be 2 hours long. And when we got into like 3.5 hours, when we got into 4 hours, I was like, it's never going to end. So we need to find out what's going on and what's happening. And we'll oops, looks like we lost Ryan there. I was just getting ready to pull him up, and we literally just lost him. So we'll keep babbling here just for a few more seconds here, and see if he if he pops back on. Oh yeah, there he is. All right, so here we go. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, America's Councilman Ryan Webb.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry about that. My earbuds kicked off, so I had to figure out how to get it fixed. I just realized I was sitting here just chilling, listening to you talk, and I realized I'm not even, the sound's not even coming through my earbuds. I got to get this taken care of.
Well, so I'm glad you're finally out of the meeting.
Yeah, just got home about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, right. So in the 4 years that you've been on the council, what's the longest regular meeting that you had?
I think safely say 2.5 hours. I would say if 3 hours, maybe once ever. We've never had a 5-hour meeting ever.
Okay.
That wasn't a budget meeting.
Yeah, never. Yeah. So your budget meetings, I mean, for people to know, those are work sessions, and you guys go into those, specifically the first couple, you guys go into those knowing that you're going to be there for 8, 10, 12 hours.
Correct.
That's designed to be there. These meetings, however, like, you're still a working man. I think everybody on the council, save for maybe 2 of them, everybody has a day job.
Yeah, and currently with my current job, I just take the day off. But when I was a supervisor and quality at Progress Rail, I would use PTO. I would leave for like 2 hours or whatever. So this would have been a real tricky situation. But today was really crazy. I actually had a lunch scheduled with some representatives from the Carpenters Union. These guys came and sit through the entire meeting waiting. I was supposed to go to lunch with them afterwards. And
they didn't have anything on the agenda. They just basically came there to wait on you to then go to lunch afterwards.
Yeah, and I'm watching the clock, and I'm doing, because I had a doctor's appointment at 2:45, and I'm looking at the clock. And I'm like, I've got to get out of here by this certain amount of time to be able to have lunch. And then finally we got to a no turning back point, and I knew there's no way I can go to lunch now. And then it ended up even getting to the point I couldn't even finish the meeting. I had to leave 10 minutes before the meeting actually adjourned. I had to get the hell out of there. So I apologize to those guys. I felt horrible. Hopefully we're going to make it up and schedule another meeting. They've got some good ideas for for an ordinance they want to put in place as far as having skilled workers handle any type of projects that are having Delaware County money spent on it. I think it's a great thing. The city has one, the county does not. So that doesn't really fall under our purview. But I'm going to try to get something linked up with Stephen Brand and see if we can get that pushed through on the county side. So my apologies to the Carpenters Union for you guys have to sit through that boring meeting for 5 hours, all for nothing.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily call it boring. They might. Yeah. But today's meeting was anything but boring. And one thing I like to say to you right up here up front, it's interesting because, like, what are you doing still, like, working? It's November. You lost the race back in May, but you're still, like, beating it. So it's honestly, from my point of view, it's nice to see the fact that you're getting paid by tax dollars, that you're still working for the citizens of Delaware County. When do you plan to quit working?
Well, I mean, this is just kind of what I do. I mean, I get people reach out to me all the time for help with things that really don't have anything to do with my purview as a councilman. But I guess, the word's gotten out that I'm somebody that will listen and can try to get them to the right people. So I don't really know if you can ever put your finger on it and say when I'll stop.
Good.
I got one meeting left, and here I am having planning to have a lunch with these guys about an ordinance. So I don't know if we'll necessarily stop, but I'll always try to steer people the right direction or where they need to go.
Well, I mean, meeting being done, your last meeting will be the 17th of December, but there could always be a special meeting. I mean, you're an elected official until midnight on the 1st. So,
yep.
I wish a lot of other people, hell, in Madison County, they just take the month of December off. That's insane to me. Some of these other people, that you consider quote unquote lame ducks, they just quit going to meetings. That's nuts to me, but I'm glad to see you're there. Some people might not feel the same, but I like to know that an elected official is putting in at least showing up to put in the time if they're going to be getting paid the money. So,
Well, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I was elected to a 4-year term. If I stopped going to meetings, that would be a tremendous disrespect to those who cast their vote for me, and
Sure.
and even those who didn't cast their vote for me, because I'm still representing the county for the full 4-year term. So I'm going to still continue doing things. Now, yes, we do have one more meeting. I have one more meeting as a council member on the 17th, but today was the last stereotypical council meeting where we have transfers and appropriations that you're going to see from me, or maybe it won't be, but at least for now it's going to be the last meeting. What we'll be doing in December will just be transfers and making those board appointments. So it's just a mop-up meeting.
Right. Well, that the December meeting is important because you will be doing the board appointments, and I think only in the last couple of years and kind of through you've been kind of someone that's pushed for this, is that's normally not been done like that, but that is something that is important. So I'm glad that they're going to be doing that as well.
Yeah, I spearheaded that, and we got that put in our rules that we have to make it public for 60 days prior to when we make the appointments in the December meeting. Prior to the years prior that I got there, the status quo was nobody would say anything about it, and then we'd show up and vote, and then all of a sudden they would go, well, nobody put in for these positions, so all the people who are currently there, they would love to serve another term, so everybody would just reappoint the same people. I absolutely hated that. I don't like reappointing the same people over and over to the consecutive terms, and I know we got a lot of great people in the community who want to serve. Maybe they don't want to be an elected official, but these board and committee appointments are a great way to get involved. So we got behind that. We put it out on Front Street and advertised it, and we got tremendous turnout and interest from the community, where we actually have several names to choose from. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. There's still a lot of those guys get reappointed, but that's not through any efforts on my part. I always try to vote for someone new when it comes to some of those positions. So Absolutely. The point is, there's an opportunity for everyone to at least get their shot.
Yeah, it's a really good way for people. There's people all the time that ask, they like attending meetings, they like doing things, they don't really know if they're ready to run for office yet. But this is a really good in-between way that you can get involved and be active, kind of get your feet wet, kind of start maybe paying some of those dues that some of the gatekeepers, I don't like that term because that's not what this country was founded on. Anybody could run, yada, yada, yada. But, some of the old people like to see you kind of getting involved and doing things. So it's kind of a way to kind of, a happy medium there. So that is something that I would highly recommend. I like today hearing that you pushed even more. And it did sound like Jessica was even on board, the council president, saying that she's got a graphic that I guess in the future they're going to put this up so people can see all of the boards and who's on them and everything. So I think that will be a tremendous asset benefit for the county.
Well, she has no choice to get on board because we got it codified in our rules now.
Oh, yeah.
So she has no choice but to do it.
Well, that's good.
And if they don't, I'll table it until the next meeting until it's done the right way. At least for another month.
Yeah. Jackie Fisher says something here that, as a suggestion, volunteer as a community advocate, mentor others who desire to be board members, elected officials. Maybe that's ways that you can help out after your term expires or whatnot. Because we definitely, listen, I'm going to tell you, today specifically, I've talked to a couple different Democrats and a couple different Republicans, and I'll tell you, they fall on all aisles. Even one of the people who is definitely not a fan of yours, and they've all said the information, as far as information coming out at council meetings, we're in trouble. Or at least the belief is we're in trouble starting January on, because there's just, you ask a lot of questions. And listen, I know that there are going to be a lot of people that are going to be like, well, the meeting went so long because Ryan, that's not true. First of all, look, nobody likes long meetings. If a meeting has to take 5 hours, it has to take 5 hours. You got to get the work done. I don't like anybody who tries to, whatever. I think that the 5 hour meeting today showed a lot of disorganization, and it showed a lot of problems. And we're going to get into that. And you kind of talk about how the disorganization and it shows inefficiency in government through the problems. Maybe if we could fix a lot of those, we wouldn't see meetings like this. But there's all kinds of reasons why. And I tell you what, I will never blame somebody for asking questions and putting information out. If that causes a meeting to last longer, then so be it, because that's what we need. But I don't think that's the fault. I don't think it's because you were asking questions or stating a point is the reason why the meeting went forever. So I want to just state that right up front for the record.
Well, the questions are a cost of doing business.
Absolutely.
If it drags the meeting out, then so be it. You got to ask the questions. That's where the answers are. You can't just, gloss over it. What we do often, and again, there's many times I ask questions, I already know the answer. I'm not always doing it because I'm going down this rabbit hole of seeking the truth and seeking answers. A lot of times I'm doing it so it can be placed on the record for the people watching or people sitting in the audience, so they are up to speed. A lot of times as council members, we see this stuff over and over and over, so we know what it means. And we make the mistake of just assuming that everyone else knows what it means. And we have to take time to remind ourselves that not everyone knows what we know. So we need to put some things out there on the record. So I like to look at it as anyone should be able to come down, sit in my seat, and pick up and know exactly what's going on. Anyone off the street could walk right in and sit in and know what's happening.
Absolutely.
When I first started attending council meetings, I didn't have a clue what they were talking about. And Ron Quakenbush, Councilmember Quakenbush, would often do the things that I do now. And I made a mental note. And I said, if I ever have the privilege of sitting in that seat, I'm going to do that, because I recognize how much I appreciate it now as someone sitting out here. Because you made a comment earlier about getting involved in boards and committees so you can get your feet wet. I never did any of that. I wasn't in politics. I didn't go to fundraisers. I didn't go to meetings. I didn't go to events. I was just a guy at home who read the paper and got tired of seeing the same names in the same positions all the time. And I told my wife, you know what? I'm going to run. And hell, we ended up winning. So that wasn't my world. And there wasn't a line of people lining up to teach me the ropes. I had to learn it all on my own.
Yeah. I think a lot of people forget that this was a lot. You had a learning curve, a pretty steep learning curve here, and for better or worse, what it is. I mean, I think you've done all right.
Well, real quick, in addition to that, most council members, first-time council members, when they get elected, the state has like a course or like a weekend getaway thing that most council members go to. I was brought in during COVID. None of that was happening.
No,
so I didn't.
That's right.
I wasn't privy to any of that. I didn't get that meeting.
I forgot about that. That's right. That's crazy. So okay, well, I saw first up, kind of getting into. Well, first of all, I want to say this real quick before we get into the meat of today's meeting. Talking about people sitting in the audience maybe not knowing, or people at home watching not knowing. I think the best example of that is the last two council meetings. There have been things going on that you guys as a council have been doing that even your department heads, the people appointed by the government, by the commissioners, the people who are there leading the charge, they're their first line of defense for supervisors. They're kind of the liaisons between the workers and the elected. There have been department heads that have stood up on record and said, you guys are talking about something that we have never heard until right now. And, when that's going on, if you've got county employees, county department heads that are there, that are dealing with you guys, behind the scenes and on a daily basis in some cases, and they don't know what you're talking about, you can bet your ass that nobody at home knows what you're talking about. And so having somebody there that's willing to ask the questions and get that stuff brought out front is an invaluable tool for the citizens trying to stay informed. So I think it's very important.
I mean, yeah, what you're describing, sometimes we've got some over-eager council members and auditors and other people behind the scenes who they have their vision, and sometimes they get so focused on pushing forward that they forget to share that vision with the rest of us, right? And and that leads to this confusion. And then you've got some folks who are career people who don't want change at all, and they're going to be somewhat like a roadblock, but they're basically going to give you a little resistance because a lot of people don't like change, especially when this is the way we've always done it. I love the title of the show tonight. We talked about that earlier, and everybody knows, whoever you voted for. I voted for Trump. And if you're on the right, everybody talks about Trump is going to go into Washington and he's going to upset the other administration, the permanent Washington, right? The unelected bureaucrats, right? The fourth level of government, right? And these are these bureaucrats who've been there 30, 40 years who basically aren't beholden to nobody, and they make all these rules. Well, we have a microcosm of that in Delaware County, right? And instead of it being permanent Washington, we have permanent Delaware County. We have our own version of career employees who don't like to see change, and basically, they're not beholden to us. They're just waiting us out. We're just elected officials that pass through. I'll be in and out in 4 or 8 years. They'll be there 20, 30 years. So that's a mindset that happens in every single community across the country. It's not just Washington. It happens right here in Delaware County.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. So that was the whole mindset of it. This idea of right or wrong, again, whether that's your thing or not. The idea that the new administration has been handed a mandate to go in and change things up, right, wrong, or indifferent, whether you like it or not. That's for you to decide. But to change things and kind of disrupt this idea of the permanent Washington. And I can tell you, there's this idea of a permanent Randolph County. There's a permanent Henry County. There's a permanent Madison County. It happens everywhere, and that's 100% right. There are these same elected officials that just bounce from seat to seat to seat to seat. They all hold positions within the party. They all gatekeep to stop new people from coming in. And the people that do come in are the people that they handpick. And then beyond that, there is this unelected group of people, some of the department heads, some of the other county employees, some of the stamp lickers and other people out there that are put in places specifically to, kind of mind the store when the elected officials are off doing whatever it is that they do and kind of keep people in check and whatever. And so that is a problem. And as we're going to talk about, what happens in this council meeting is a perfect example of what the issue is there. So getting into the meeting today, let me ask you this. Go ahead.
Real quick for you to ask that question. So when you put the combination of the permanent Delaware County bureaucrats and you combine it with the permanent elected official, you got to remember, up until 2 years ago, Jane Lassiter had been there for decades. Ron Quakenbush, decades. Mary Chambers, decades. Scott Alexander on his third term. Jessica's going there in third term. we've got a lot of new people in there now. I was the new guy. I was the disruptor coming in. So that not only is it dangerous, it is disruptive to progress and accountability. And what I mean by that, you saw it today when you've got these elected officials who've been there for 20 years in that same position, working hand in hand with these same department heads for 20 years. And then you see clear errors like we've seen today. There were errors today by the human resources, by the auditor's office, but nobody wanted to call them out on the record because they have that relationship, right? And that's the dangerous part when we're working together 20 years, people aren't willing to hold each other accountable because, well, we're kind of cool. We'll probably go to lunch later. I don't want to call you out here for you clearly messing this up. And in my mind, you need to cut that off during the meetings. The meetings are about business. When the meeting's over, we can still go to lunch. You can tell me how pissed off you are at me at lunch. But when it's time to do business, we're going to do business. So that could be a problem.
You see it in the courtroom all the time, where two attorneys will be across, the table from each other, just absolutely knockdown, drag out fight. And sometimes they do get hurt, mad, upset, and they don't talk for a while, but 90% of the time they walk in buddies, they go in, they piss and moan and fight and bitch, and they walk out buddies, and it is what it is. You ought to be able to put on your hat. First of all, as you said last night, everybody really needs to take a step back because none of this is it's important, don't get me wrong, but none of it, they feel like they're so more self-important than they really are. None of it is nearly as important as they make it be. But you should be able to walk in and do the business and walk out and be able to at least carry on a conversation. And if someone's going to be mad at you for doing the right things for the people, then maybe they're not really your friend. Maybe they shouldn't be there, and people need to think about that. But yeah, there's several examples in today's meeting that was just absolutely disgusting because I think today was wild. I think you had more people, you had more support and more agreement today with you in the meeting probably than any other meeting I've ever watched with you in it. And that was interesting to see and to hear people backing you up and saying what you were saying and going, spending long conversations. And I talk about this all the time. There's nothing more than I hate than seeing a bunch of politicians sit around and being like, yes, we believe this. This is what we think. We think this is wrong. We don't want to do this. And then when the vote comes, they vote opposite of what they just spent 30 minutes. Don't stand there and talk about it for 30 minutes. Then just shut up or say you don't agree or whatever. But to say that for all of them to back you up and then for all of them to vote the opposite way a couple times, it was just like, what? This is nuts. So we're going to go over that, obviously. But so going into today's meeting, what was your thought? Because there's been some kind of behind the scenes things going on. I've, of course, been pointing that out between the 911 director and the auditor. There's been a couple things going on with the auditor and members of the sheriff's department and the jail and other things. But it's the same stuff that has been going on with the auditor basically for the last 2 years. Claims aren't getting paid. There's been screw ups in payroll. There's been credit cards aren't getting paid and just issue after issue. So there was some of this going on. What did you think did you think that today's meeting was going to be like it was, or what did you think today's meeting was going to be like going into it?
Well, real quick before I answer that question.
Sure.
So what you mentioned a minute ago about multiple people could watch that meeting who don't have a dog in the fight and could say, yeah, what he's saying makes sense. I agree with that. That is a perfect example of how the permanent Delaware County can interfere with that, because when your viewers saw as something they could see as reasonable, other people who were part of the permanent Delaware County get up at the podium and say my rhetoric is being hateful, right? Yeah. I'm calling them out, but it's hateful. That's because, again, they look out for one another and they're going to shield one another. And even basic criticism about accountability and self-accountability is out of bounds and off limits. So I just wanted to point that out. When you don't have a dog in the fight, you see it for what it is. When you're all around each other day in and day out, Next thing you know, something that seems so reasonable, it turns into that's hateful when it clearly wasn't.
Yeah.
But anyway, to answer your question, so I knew that we had some things to go over. I had no clue it was going to be this. Like I said, I scheduled a freaking lunch afterwards. But I knew there were some things. I was hoping there would be opportunities to address some of these issues. I was really disappointed that Auditor Ed Carroll wasn't there because a lot of the things that I was addressing towards Tanya, although she's a big girl, she's a professional, she is the chief deputy, and she's more than capable of handling my feedback, no matter how direct it may be. I really wished that that feedback would have been received by Ed Carroll. I thought, although Tanya probably deserved some of those arrows, she took a lot of arrows today, specifically from me, that I believe the majority of should have went to Ed Carroll. And I would almost bet he's probably hunkered up in a dark room watching that meeting the entire time. Probably texting back and forth with her if I had to guess. So I'm not sure where he was. I don't know why he wasn't there. But yeah, I'm sure there were a lot of people there that wanted to have a conversation with him. Now there is some things going around. You know, Jim and Dan was both out. Maybe sick. I don't know. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but I wish he could have been there to hear. Not just because this is the thing. This isn't just criticism from me. I've been given it. This is now you're hearing Matt speak out publicly. You're hearing the sheriff call him out publicly about the credit cards. What he has to understand is the department heads and the employees in those departments have completely lost total confidence in the auditor's office and their ability to perform the functions of that office flat out. And it's not just the employees, citizens. I still get emails from citizens and calls and texts from citizens who try to get basic services that the auditor's office is supposed to provide, and they're not receiving them because of mistakes. And part of that is Ed's management style. He is a horrible communicator. He may have a vision in his head, but he is the worst person in the world with implementing that vision. He doesn't communicate it to people. And because of that, his turnover rate is an issue. If he was in the private sector, he would have already been replaced. Because
oh yeah, no question.
As I pointed out today in the meeting, they have 14 employees in that office. They replaced 3 of them just in the last 30 days. Right. And this happens every month. So that's more than 20% of the employees. If you're losing 20% of your employees every month or every other month, at some point you got to look it in the mirror. I'll give you a quick example. When I was a store manager at Rena Center, we were ranked #1 in the whole region out of 37 people. And I was proud of that. And I was hard on my people. But I had the highest turnover. And my boss came to me and he was bitching about the turnover. And in my opinion, I was young. I was like 28. I said, hey, man, the hell with them. If they don't want to get with the program and come in and bust ass all day, then they can go on. We're going to be #1. And I'll never forget. He said, Ryan, I could just as easily replace you and keep these people and be #5. He said, as opposed to stay #1 and keep having to replace everyone. So I had to have my own come to Jesus meeting with myself and say, okay, yeah, we're getting the results, but if we're having this turnover, I got to look in the mirror and change my management style. And I don't know if Ed's had that conversation with himself yet, but he needs to have it at some point because his management style is burning through not only our experienced people, but even these new people who are just trying to learn the job, and it's not sustainable.
Well, that's the biggest problem is, it's not, I don't want to, I don't know what the auditor's office does. We've got some people watching this, as far as their day-to-day activity on the computers and things. I wouldn't want to go sit behind a computer and do that all day long. I could probably learn what I'm doing and after a period of time do it. But it takes a certain amount of time to be able to go in there and feel proficient at what you're doing and feel comfortable. And from going, we've talked about this multiple times on the program under different posts I've made on social media. But when you're going in a program where you've had people that have been in there 15, 20, 12 years, and you've lost all of those people in the matter of a 6-month window, and then you're bringing in all these other new people, and now you're cycling through people, every 6 months, you've got new, 2 or 3 new people in there. you're not building up a staff that's ever going to be able to know what they're doing, let alone to be able to go in and cross-train, which is another thing that got brought up today and is a major problem. Everybody in there seems like they only know one job. So if you got one man or one woman that goes out, the ship sinks because nobody over here is plugging the hole or doing whatever. That is not a way to run anything, let alone government.
Well, there's an important component here that everyone also has to understand. 2 years ago when when I first came in, Steve Craycraft was the auditor.
Yeah.
And they had Donna. Donna had been here 30, 40 years, whatever it was. Denise had been there 20 years. So there was tons of experience, right? Ed ran all the people off. Donna retired, Denise retired, Craycraft left. But here's the thing. It's one thing to have all these new employees that you got to train. If you have an experienced upper management, those employees can go to that upper management and say, hey, what can I do here? How do I do there? That's not what we have here. Ed is new to this. And Ed didn't come in. So you guys who don't follow politics, this is the way it works. When Ed knew he was going to be the auditor, he didn't come in and have one of those experienced people be his chief deputy like Denise. He took his chief deputy from when he was treasurer, and he sent her over 6 months in advance to the auditor's office to learn the game, knowing that he was coming later. So she's new too. So everybody over there's new. I mean, nobody has any understanding. So with Ed's all or nothing management style, even the guy who does have 5 years, who knows damn well the way they're trying to do things is not the way it should be done, he can't even speak up without getting ran over by him, or they get pushed out of the way. I had plenty of those emails from people who knew they were doing the tax sale stuff wrong, but this is the way Ed said he wanted it done, so they had to do it. And that's what you get. So it's a real shit show over there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just what's frustrating. Is the other thing that we heard over and over and over in the meeting today was it feels like there's this sense of, I kept hearing, I think Jessica mentioned it a couple times. I think Kantz mentioned it a couple times. They're like, well, we talked to Ed last Friday and Ed has vowed to do things better. Well, first of all, how many times are you going to have this talk with him where he's going to vow to do things better, to do things different, to communicate, to do this or that? I thought it was very telling. You had the 911 director, which, listen, folks, when some of these people, when Tony gets up and speaks, when Tony Skinner gets up and speaks, he's an elected official. Ain't nobody can fire him. He's there. No one's getting rid of him. He's where he's at. He's a lame duck sheriff. I hate using that term for the good people, but it is the same thing. He can't run again, so he's done. But even if he was, I don't think Tony is saying anything now that he wouldn't have said in his first term, because he's doing what's right. But some of these people are appointment or political appointments.
Yeah,
so
they're taking a risk.
They're taking a risk and speaking up. So when they get to the point that they're so fed up that they're willing to speak up, I really appreciate that. And a lot of times people just feel like they need to be heard. And that's something that elected officials don't like. They don't like to hear from citizens. They don't like to hear from the employees. And so I noticed that like Fred and others were kind of being admonished because they kept wanting to, like everyone was like, felt like they were belaboring the point, but it's like, no, we just want to be heard. We want to know that someone is hearing this. And I thought was very telling was that everyone's like, well, maybe this isn't the place to do it. We could have a meeting and all of this. But Fred just flat out said, hey, we were told Ed doesn't want to talk to us on the phone. Ed doesn't want to see us face to face. He wants to see us in an email. And then think about how heartbreaking it is for us to email him issues. And number one, not get a return in the emails, and then get an email saying, well, maybe this needs to be done in a face-to-face meeting. Mm-hmm. I think that's frustrating. The other thing is, and I'm going to go out on the record and say this, I have the email. Ed, when you emailed Ed after that back and forth, Ed must have turned on his away notice, and his away notice said that he would be back the 26th.
Today, yeah, yesterday,
that was today, and I absolutely agree. You mentioned it earlier. You know, there was a lot of heat thrown Tanya's way. Tanya's the chief deputy. Her job as chief deputy is to fill in when Ed is not there. So as far as I'm concerned, Ed and Tanya are the same. The only difference is Ed is the elected official. So Ed should have got this. Now, listen, Ed knew everything being said was directed at him. Wherever he was, I'm sure Ed was not enjoying today's meeting. He's probably glad Tanya was there and not him, but he was probably upset by what was being said. But
well, yeah, because he discounts what I say is that's just Ryan.
That's just Ryan.
But
yeah.
when you see other people speaking up, and what you saw with Fred today was he's throwing his hands up and saying everything you guys are suggesting, I've already tried.
I'm trying.
Everybody knows Ed will not return your call. He will not return your email. He goes in his office. He shuts the door. You can't get through to him. They've tried that behind the scenes stuff. So when they feel like he's belaboring the point, it's because he's already said it over and over and over, and nothing is being fixed. That's why I brought up the point today. It's one thing when we're catching things that we didn't know that were happening, but it's just as much a concern the same stuff that continues to happen over and over and over and isn't being corrected. That's why I said, what is the corrective action here? I come from manufacturing. When there's a major problem, you come up and create a corrective action, and if implemented correctly, that problem will never, ever, ever happen again. We have major problems, and no one's interested in a corrective action.
Well, and I had a couple of people asking me privately, like, why that is, like, why, he's just the auditor. Well, you got to understand, number one, he is just the auditor, but he's also the party chairman, and I don't know how much of that. I don't think it has as much to do with that, other than they just won't call out anybody. They won't call out anyone.
That auditor is an important position. That is the gatekeeper of proper and improper spending. Those of you in Henry County, I just heard, and I like Sproles. I mean, I know he does a lot of wild shit, but I just heard the other day that he was bragging to people that he just bought like 3 or 4 more Durangos, and laughing it off that the council and the commissioners are gonna ship when they found out about it.
Yeah.
And when he'll slide invoices through, it's like, the auditor paid it, so it's almost like I got a green light to go to push the envelope further.
Yes.
So the auditor is the checks and balances, because what do? I got away with that. Well, now I'm going to do this, and you keep getting away with it. You keep getting away with it, and that's how you get guys going to Vegas, flying first class, ordering alcohol, and going to Italy, and billing the county like King and his group of guys did, and Book Out and Bill Walters and all of them, and it going through the auditor's office because no one's asking the questions. So the auditor's office is a critical gatekeeper function for accountability and proper versus improper spending.
You hear that, people over in Madison County? It's funny. They're dealing with the same. It's not funny. It's sad. They're dealing with the exact same problem. It is so weird how the two counties mirror each other so much. It's so bizarre. It's mind-boggling. So, okay, that is a good point. That it is a very important position. So, okay, why don't we do this? Why don't we play a little bit of the first big issue? Because so out of everything that happened today, what do you think was the biggest issue that occurred? The biggest kind of row? What do you think that was?
Well, I have these issues every meeting. So, what I think is a big thing, others may not think. There's a couple incidents I was watching at the beginning, obviously, when Tanya took it upon herself that she felt like she had a good decision, and it could have been a good decision, but you don't get to just skip protocol when you come up with plenty of people have good ideas, but you got to follow protocol to do it. They're not authorized to just fund positions and come to the council later and say, oh, by the way, can you fund this? It does not work that way. You don't get to ask for forgiveness. You must ask for permission, right? And unfortunately, That's not what was done. It happened again later with Pam and
Well,
the HR and the commissioners.
So
there were multiple incidents.
That's the perfect thing, because you actually said during the first ordeal, and that's what I was getting ready to talk about. That was perfect. During the first ordeal with the auditor's office with Tanya, and it was a situation where they did something without having the proper approval, proper authority, proper protocol to do it. They skipped that protocol. And you brought up, if we start doing this, if we approve this now, it's, and here's the thing. And I like how you say this about the people coming up and asking for money in this. You don't have personal issues with these people, because all those people are doing is going and fighting for their people. And that's what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be going up there. They're like sharks. And yes. There's so much blood, there's so much meat in the water, and they're all fighting for whatever little bit of scraps they can get for their people. So they're just doing what they've been trained to do. And it's you guys' responsibility to say, enough is enough. You can do that. You can't do this. That's just how it goes. It's checks and balances. And you brought up the point that when you do that and when you allow that, these other sharks out here are going to say, oh, okay, so now we can do that. Look, they approved it. We're just going to do this, and they're not going to tell us no. They're not going to make us eat it.
You set the precedent.
Yeah, you set the precedent, and then it happened now, obviously, she didn't then run out and do that because of that. Obviously,
it had already happened.
But the point of the matter is, you will see it more. So I want to play just a bit of this. This is right here. It starts right away, basically at 9 minutes in. We're going to skip through. Look, I'll tell everybody this. This was a crazy-ass meeting. It was 4 hours and 56 minutes long. I would tell you, if you're interested in seeing the highlights of the meeting, go and watch the first hour and a half, and you could probably sleep on the rest. But if you want to see, if you're one of the drama people, at least go watch the first hour. But
there was something right at the 3 hour mark too. I can't remember what it was. I think there was something around an hour and 45 and then the 3 hour. I don't remember exactly what it was, but when I flipped through later, I remember seeing those times. But
I think that might have been with Fred, maybe when Fred was back up again.
Well, the 3 hour one was when we were talking about the encumbrances.
Oh yes.
And it got back to me addressing the symptoms with the auditor's office. That was what that one was. The 145, I don't remember exactly what it was. I mean, again, there's a lot of them, but I mean, there's plenty of entertainment in there. Do you guys know how boring? Do you guys even have a clue how boring these meetings are going to be come January? You don't even know. You don't even know.
These meetings are going to be like 30 minutes long. Hell, even Tweety Bird said, I think she wrote and said she even appreciates you asking the questions. So people know. I mean, it's going to be. It's come January, these meetings are going to be completely different, man. It's going to be wild. All right, now, I'm going to start. Go ahead.
Real quick before you play this for full context. What's about to happen?
Yeah, tell them what happens here.
Is when an employee quits, right? Sometimes they have benefit time. If they've been there a long time, they have benefit time, and they basically have to, instead of paying them out all at once, let's say they have 3 weeks vacation or 4 weeks vacation, we have to wait those 3 to 4 weeks for that employee to run out, and then we replace them. So they have to go without that employee for 3 to 4 weeks. At budget time, I proposed a system in place where we put a line item, we put 50 grand off to the side, and when these employees leave, we pay them out their money lump sum right off the bat. That way we can hire someone right away, and it doesn't affect the salary, total amount of salary for that specific position for the year. Because if you hire someone that overlaps, then that salary that you have budgeted for the year isn't going to be enough, right? Yeah. And I thought that them cutting their insurance off would basically offset the cost. I didn't get the support of the council with that, so we didn't do it. So we still have that same system. So if your employee quits and they don't have time, you can hire someone right away. If they have somebody, you got to wait the 3 or 4 weeks, like Denise Smith. Denise Smith was like 6 weeks. They had to wait
Yeah.
to replace them. So what Tanya decided to do is she didn't want to wait the 3 or 4 weeks and then come to the council and ask, for that person. So what she did is she went and hired someone immediately while this person's salary was still being paid out those 3 weeks. So now she's $2,400 short to be able to pay this new person. So now she's got to come to us and say, hey, we need $2,400. And why do you need $2,400? And you'll see how it unfolds.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's the way it went.
Yeah.
Pulling the excess funds from the line that wasn't getting paid and putting it over to the line where where 2 people are getting paid out of.
Issue.
So let me understand this.
But it has been fixed then.
So you're saying 2 people,
Person need on line, and that's when I caught that 2 people.
a part of it, but the rest of all this is just the typical end of year.
Mr. Whitehead?
Yes.
Okay, here we
Ms.
are.
Piper?
Yes.
All right. 129 Sheriff?
Oh, no,
Two
sorry.
21
I know what I'm
operating
doing here
supplies
is
fuel.
wrong. I'm looking at,
Negative
okay, wait a minute. So this
$10,000.
was an hour and 25 minutes into it. All right, here we go then. All right, wait a minute. I was screwing that up. This is what the issue is. Here we
I'll
go.
make the motion.
Publicly done, in front of all of us.
Yeah, right here we go.
$24. Person's already been hired, I assume.
$2,400, total transfer 0.
Here we
I'll
go.
make the motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Eugene. Do you have any questions on this one?
I do.
Okay.
Somebody explain the claims deputy, $2,400 in November.
Tanya Dunsmore, Chief Deputy Auditor. This is to replace the the claims deputy that left in October. And I didn't want to go 30 days without a claims deputy. So we got someone in there, and this is the money to carry it through the end of the year.
I didn't realize we had a part-time overtime line item.
Well, that's how it sits this year. In the new year, separated out.
I mean, with all due respect, is that the new protocol where everybody?
No,
guys
it's
need a
not,
person,
but I
just
did
hire
have
them
to
and
make
just come with the money
a
later?
executive call on that in order for the better of the county.
I know, but there's a policy and protocol in place. You can't just hire people and pay them and then come to us after the fact and say, hey, I need the money. That's not the way it works.
When we're talking $2,400,
Doesn't matter. You can ask the president, schedule a special hearing. There's protocols in place.
That's so frustrating to me. That's like a police officer, saying, "Hey, did you steal this car?" And you saying, "Well, look, it's only a $5,000 car. It's not an $80,000 Dodge Ram. It's a $5,000 car." Ask yourself if you think you're still going to be in trouble. If the rules say, if the protocols in place say that you cannot do this, you can't. I think Ryan even says here in a minute, you can't do it for $24,000. You can't do it for $204,000. You can't do it for $200,000 or $200. You can't do it for $24. And
throughout the whole exchange, she continues to try to justify the entire time. I don't think she ever come to the conclusion that the way she did it was incorrect.
Well, no, she doesn't, because you have some spineless people around you that didn't help her understand that, and that's sad. You set it up for the perfect lesson, and unfortunately, that didn't go that way. Here we'll continue on.
Nobody has the authority to go on their own, hire employees and pay them without the council approval. You don't get to do it, and neither does no one else. This is completely against protocol, and I'm going to vote against it just for that fact.
okay.
This is not the way we do stuff. And everybody sitting up here knows it.
That's important too. I want to say this real quick, because I feel like Ryan says this a lot, and I almost feel like it's almost become comical to me when Ryan says, like, I'm gonna do this because just for principle, because this is not the right thing. The answer, they don't ever just sit there and take it rhetorically. The answer always is, okay, well, you're only one vote, so that doesn't matter. And I feel like they have all got that attitude, and that's what's so disgusting, because they know no one else is going to step up and do what they need to do, and that's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. And I mean, I know it's going to frustrate the hell out of you, but I don't understand that. Here we go.
Any other additional comments or questions on that?
How does that relate to our backfilling? Is this not backfilling? He's saying that it was backfilled. The money wasn't in that line item. They backfilled it prior to approval, and they're going to move the money now.
Prior to approval.
Person's already been hired, I assume.
Correct.
Yeah. So typically, Bill, like if someone has benefits, right, we have to wait and pay that out, and then we can hire somebody. Otherwise, we have to do what we're doing here, which is either transfer new money in or appropriate new money, right? That's why I suggested before when we were doing the budget that we have a procedure in place to pay out employees the second they leave, so we don't have to go around, do workarounds like this that are outside the protocol of how we normally do things. Yeah. So we're paying a former employee and a new employee at the same time, is that?
We paid out the former employee, and that former employee had never called in a day in his life. So therefore, he had some days to be paid out, and I didn't feel it was in any of our best interests to go 30 days without a claims deputy.
I don't disagree with that at all. What I'm saying is there's protocols in place, and the second we start letting our guard down and letting people just make decisions based off of what they think is best, that's when we get ourselves in a world of trouble. What if the council today decided we didn't want to transfer that money? Then what would you do?
Well, I would hope that everyone would see the need for what it is and move the money.
It's not about need. This is clear as day.
It is about
This
need.
is asking for forgiveness rather than permission is what this is.
It is about need.
And make a few other exceptions to the rule too, when people have passed unexpectedly, so.
So that's what we're doing now?
No, I'm just acknowledging that we've done it.
And I'm with Ryan. We theoretically should be addressing what the
Okay, so real quick. So now we've heard one council member. So Matt Kantz. So first of all, just to make sure everybody's up to speed, this is a 7-person council. There's 7 people on this council. The council is Dan Flanagan, Bill Hughes, Matt Kantz, Jim Mokel, Jessica Piper, Ryan Webb, and Eugene Whitehead. And out of those 7 people, Mokel and Flanagan were both absent today. So there's only 5 people currently sitting on the council. So we know that Ryan's spoken out against this. So now we've got Kantz that's now speaking out about this. I want to count how many people speak out against this in favor of what Ryan's saying. So right now, Kantz is speaking in favor of what Ryan said.
What the long-term issue is, and in the case of the auditor's office, who's been under the gun, so to speak, for several months and has had turnover like this, there is not really a mechanism for them to do what was done here. But I mean, I agree with Ryan also that we're altering for the sake of altering based on that. So, I mean, we don't really have a good plan B, right? Is what you're saying?
That's kind of horse shit. Tell the people what could have happened to make this happen appropriately. What would have needed to happen?
What we've done in the past. She claims at the last council meeting she pulled Jessica aside. What's happened in the past? I'll use an example. Fred. She could have gotten up there at that podium at the end of last month's council meeting and said, "Hey guys, just so you know, I've lost this employee. I would like to go ahead and bring another employee in. Unfortunately, we won't be able to get on the agenda until next month's council meeting. Is there any way I could get some sort of understanding if that would be okay. And
Yeah.
what we would do on the record is if anyone had any objections, we would let them know, no, we probably should wait on that.
Yeah.
Or we would say, I'm not really opposed to that. And then she would have an unofficial green light to go ahead and do what she did.
Sure.
She didn't tell anybody. She claims she told Jessica, but you'll see in a minute, Jessica gets amnesia about the conversation and doesn't seem to recall any of it.
Yeah, real interesting. And I was trying to gauge if what I thought actually happened there, if maybe it really did happen and Jessica's doesn't recall it, or if Jessica's, I can't, and of course I listen from where I stand with both of these individuals. I can't tell you what I believe happened there. I don't know.
Now,
It could be either way.
and this goes back to the questions, right? Ryan
Yeah.
asked too many questions. If
Yeah.
I wouldn't ask, what's this $2,400? We wouldn't even
Yes.
been talking about it.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. All right, here we go.
Well, we've done it in the past. We've had, I think Fred I could be wrong on which department head it was, but we've had similar situations where, hey, I cannot wait for this. I need an employee now. And either A, they would get, they would kind of speak to us and get our feeling if we would be okay with approving it in the next month's meeting, or B, they would call a special meeting. We've done special meetings for this very same exact scenario. We have. Everyone knows we have.
And that's
And
obviously a way you guys, they could have, if it could have been emergency, there's nothing wrong. All you guys got to do is give notice of 48 hours and call a special meeting.
We've done it many times.
Sure. No, that's any of those things. And like you guys all say, nobody wants to do that. That's not fun. It's a pain in the ass. But if she's saying that, this is just something that we could not live without, and we screwed up and we didn't cross train anybody, and the county was going to shut down in some ways like it did. We weren't going to pay claims. We weren't going to pay credit cards. It was going to be this total shit show. Then it sounds like that would have been an emergency enough situation to call a special meeting.
The protocol, right? Protocols is what we're supposed to be doing things by. We can't, the second we start deviating out of the protocols and making exceptions for whatever it is that we justify in our own minds, that's when, everything just goes to hell. There's protocols for a reason. I don't want to have to come to a special meeting and miss a day of work. I totally get it. I wish we had a different process in place, but what we absolutely cannot normalize is people just making decisions with taxpayer money before the fiscal body gives authorization to do so. We cannot do that, period. I don't care if it's $2,400, $24,000, or $24. It can't happen. It cannot be normalized.
I agree with Brian. When we instituted the backfilling process that we did, a concern expressed was, are we going to lose control over
Hughes agrees with Ryan.
I will vote for this one.
Oh, Buddy's going to vote for it, which I like, Bill, but I don't like this.
In the future, we have to adhere to the process that was intended.
So, just to be clear, if this situation comes about for any department head where they feel that they cannot go without that employee, like that position, I should say, the Plan B protocol is to come to council, A, outside of a meeting, A, in a meeting, A, at a finance meeting. What is going to be the procedure?
You
A lot of A's.
our council president
Yeah.
and all the time. There's nothing to say, hey, I've got a situation here, do an email or a phone call where this is what we have. The first thing I would suggest is what every other business in the county does, is that would cross-train your employees. So if somebody drops out in the 3 weeks, 4 weeks before we have another council meeting, somebody can fill that role.
And
Somebody
I
has
did
to
do
do
that,
that job
Ryan.
when
I
those
did do
people
that,
go on
Ryan.
vacation.
And I also spoke with Miss Piper after the last council meeting. Do you remember that? No. I did. Okay. I came up to you after the council meeting. I told you what I would be bringing to the table at the next council meeting. I guess I don't remember. I We
Right.
discussed a few things.
Right, but that was about hiring them before getting our blessings. I know we've had other people come before us and ask us for their blessing before they did it. I think maybe we've done that for Fred.
Why would
maybe
she have
even
done it
Matt, I
after
can't
the meeting? Why wouldn't she have done it
recall.
in the
I feel
meeting?
like it's happened a couple times.
But it's been in a
Feeling.
publicly done, in front of all of us. I guess I don't recall that part of the conversation about actually making the hire. And obviously we need someone in this role. It's an important role, it's imperative. And I apologize, I don't recall that part of that conversation, but I think that, apologize. We want to make sure that
Policy's written, that when we change the backfilling process, it's written down, how it works. And it says in there exactly that you don't do this.
But yet he feels comfortable enough to vote for it this time.
I wish I did, but we wrote it down. We said, this is how we're gonna do it.
If I could just make one more statement, one more point for this office or any other office that feels, if you've got any position in your office that if life happens and that employee for some reason can't be there for 3 weeks and you can't make it, then you got bigger problems. Figure it out, cross-train your people. Nobody is that important to where their absence for 3 weeks brings the whole ship down. It just doesn't work that way. Get your people cross-trained, get people who can fill in the gap and help each other across the finish line for 3 weeks until we have our next council meeting. And so this shouldn't happen.
This would have been more than 3 weeks, just to let you know.
How?
It would have been over 30 days if I counted correctly with his payout.
We just had a meeting.
But I did cross-train. As you know, we have a lot of new employees, so I did cross-train another employee. There is
Why did we ever figure out why that employee wasn't? I mean, what does that mean? Yeah, I did it, but we still didn't use that person.
Right.
Like, I don't understand what she's saying there.
Gibberish.
another
Yeah.
employee who helps train and back up in those positions as well. But considering all with the claims area, I did not feel that we needed to wait a minute on getting someone in there.
That's the problem.
And the person who we have in there has done accounts payable all her life.
But with all
So
due
I
respect,
felt like
Tanya,
it was a good decision to make when I had the opportunity to grab her. And I did so against protocol, obviously.
Yes.
but with all due
But I
respect,
would like to
you
know,
don't have that authority to do that. With all due respect, and I'm not trying to come down on you and beat you up because you're the person sitting in the chair, but when we're talking about these types of situations, right? And I've sit up here and I've heard for the last year mistake after mistake after mistake, and I'm tired of hearing we have new people, everybody's new, everybody's in new positions. Listen, if you guys are going to rearrange the entire office and put everybody in different positions all at once, there's going to be problems that come with that.
that's correct.
But it's not a blank check for the whole year to excuse any mistakes or excuse poor decisions because, well, we got all new people or, well, everybody's new in roles. That's not what this is for.
I guess I felt like this decision was actually a positive to some of the problems.
I can respect that, but I just want you, but you don't have the authority to do it. That's what I'm trying to get you to see. I understand it probably may have been a good decision, but you don't have the authority to do it. We have the authority.
This is the position that pays claims, credit card bills, etc.
I would like to comment on that.
Then she thinks she's
The
going to get you
department
here.
head has the authority to hire and fire.
That's where the
Fiscal
council
body
approves the money.
has the authority to approve or deny the money. So let's be clear on the two different
Okay,
things. 'Cause
well, I'm
it's
gonna
two
deny
different
this money
things.
and I'll show you real quick. You don't have approval or authority to hire anyone before we approve the funding for it. And I encourage every one of you to vote with me. Well, we'll see who has the authority here in just a few minutes.
Madam President,
Yes, sir.
if I may, I would agree with Councilman Hughes
on his assessment of this.
Okay, so now so if he's agreeing with him, then he's also agreeing with Ryan, but he's also telling us he's going to vote for it. So there's 3 counselors and Ryan being the 4th. So there's 4 councilman people out of 5 that are saying this was an issue. At least 2 of them are saying it's a problem, but we're going to vote for it. And then you've got Jessica, who tried making excuses, but then tried distancing herself from it. So she's in la la land. So I honestly thought that this vote would fall Ryan, no, Matt, no, Hughes, yes, Whitehead, yes, and then Jessica would be like the tie person in there, and or you're doing whatever. And I thought that she would probably vote yes, but since Ryan and Matt voted no, and that wasn't the full 4, even though the other 2 guys are out, that it wouldn't pass. But this is what then happens.
I'd also like to call for the question.
Roll call, please. I know I'm at. Mr. Flanagan.
Absent.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
What?
Mr. Webb.
Absolutely not.
X. Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Ms. Piper. Yes. Thank you, council.
So what happened there was after everybody agreed with him, I mean, were you shocked by that?
I mean, it's unbelievable. You know, if Ron Quakenbush would have been sitting in that chair, he'd have fallen out of his chair.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know what these guys are thinking sometimes. I really don't. I mean, I know there's a little bit. They truly don't want to vote with me unless they absolutely have to. But this is one of those scenarios where you couldn't be more clear what's right and what's not. I mean, even, you know, you mentioned all the council members who agreed that this wasn't the way to do it. Even Tanya herself said, I clearly made the decision that was in opposition to the protocol.
Yeah.
Like, what more do you need? I mean, you know, you started this mess, you figure it out. You don't get to just make decisions and come to us later after the fact. Now, if she would have been more like Pam was with her situation and been apologetic and said, recognized her mistake and said, okay, my bad. I thought I made a good decision. Obviously, this wasn't the way to go. But that's not what we seen there. She was defiant to the end. In matter of fact, she'll lay her head on her pillow tonight thinking that she was in the right, which means this will happen again.
Yeah, that's what's really frustrating with, and from my point of view, is thinking that, you know, that's exactly what's going to happen. She's going to think she even said right there when she said, well, you know, thank you, council. It's almost like she did that kind of as a, like a, you know, meh, you know, to you. And I just thought that's nuts. That's absolutely nuts. I want to just jump ahead here forward and
real quick before you go any further.
Yeah, you're fine.
Those fellow council members of mine, are smart people.
Sure.
They have no clue the protocol and the history of the way things are supposed to be done.
Yeah.
That would have never, ever gotten past 2 years ago. Ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
And there's too much. Okay, good. Don't do it next time. Or I'm just disappointed that there wasn't at least one of them who stood on their morals and stood on the side of being right.
Well,
and said, for principle's sake, I would love to vote for this, but I can't because, I mean, that's like saying, yeah, the kid shoplifted, but it's, you know, they're hungry. So who cares if he stole the meal?
Right.
Doesn't really work that way.
Yeah, no.
Doesn't really work that way.
That's right. And I'm going to tell you, and I, you know, when Jim Mokel took over for Lassiter, I was very happy. I like Jim Mokel as a person. I'm just going to say it personally. I've not been impressed with him on the council. Sometimes I wonder where he's at. It's just real confusing what he's done. I like him as a person. He's a great guy, but I just have not been impressed with his time on the council. And I really feel like he and really Flanagan are there just to be like the yeses for Jessica. They're just going to go whatever way she wants. I really feel to some degree that Whitehead does the same thing. I feel really the only true support in any way that you have is it has been Kantz and has been Hughes, but at the same time, you are 100% correct. And I think the biggest problem with Kantz is I know he's not happy with how things are going. I know he has to be frustrated. I know that he is upset by what things are going on, but he's one of those people that does not want to upset the apple cart. He doesn't want to rock the boat. And he's one of those people that'll be like, well, we'll just let it go next time. And not realizing that then we're going to get into the situation where in a year from now, he's going to regret doing this.
Matt, first of all, I was disappointed. I don't know where Matt was with this vote. I don't know why he voted the way he did, but he has to be accountable to the voters for how he chooses to cast his votes. But Matt is someone who often plays devil's advocate, often tries to find both fault and common ground on both sides. That's generally what he does, right?
Yep.
But in this particular case, I mean, this was a layup. This was a layup.
This beat all common sense. What they did. This should have been a 0 to 5 vote, honestly, or maybe a 1. Maybe Hughes and Whitehead 2 to 3 or whatever. But this should not have went this way. And you guys would have had to figure something out for the position, obviously, but they should have been taught a lesson. And you know what? Maybe that hard lesson would have yanked the knot in Ed's ass and got him in line. But because things like this happen, he's just going to go on thinking they can do what they want, and nothing's going to. All he's got to do is 2 more months, and hell, he won't even have you bitching at him.
Let me tell you what would have happened. What would have happened is they would have went back. This was an appropriation. They wanted $2,400 new dollars out of county general. What they would have happened if this failed today, like it should have, they would have went back, looked at their budget, and they would have found $2,400 in either the overtime line item, the part-time, somewhere. They haven't spent the money. They would have come back in December and asked to do a transfer to pay for that money. That's what would have happened. That's what should have happened.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it was easy fix. It's not like somebody would have not gotten paid. It's just about doing it the right way. It's not
like this job was going to sit empty until the 17th. It would have been resolved. There would have been a way to resolve this.
Nope.
Without doing the wrong thing.
And having respect for the norms and the checks and balances.
Yeah.
There's a reason we're the fiscal. Listen, my boss told me once before, Ryan, every company in the world has supervisors. You know why? Because people don't do what they're supposed to do, right? There's a reason we're the fiscal body, and there's a reason that department heads have to come to us for approvals to do things. Because if we just said, hell with it, we trust you all, that's not, doesn't work that way, right? It's only a matter of time for someone goes crazy with it, and you can't deviate from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
No matter how nice of a lady you are.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, and listen, for everybody that's watching, did it sound, was Ryan calling anybody names? I didn't hear him raising his voice. I think he was to the point. I think he was, he was curt in saying some things. And I think that people have to realize that all of that is not aimed at Tanya. I think it's mostly aimed at the screw ups that's happening in the office. It's aimed at Ed, and she just unfortunately had to be sitting in that seat today. And again, I blame Ed. Ed said he was going to be back the 26th. Today's the 26th, but he wasn't back. And I want to say this for the record real quick, because I know someone's going to say, well, there was a health reason or whatever. I hope everything's okay with Ed. I hope there's nothing serious health-wise going on with him, his wife, his family. I hope everything's fine. If there is someone's in the hospital or something's going on, my thoughts, my prayers go out to them, and I completely understand. And family comes first, and blah blah blah. I get all of that. I understand that. But if he's just not there because he's out dicking around, then that's a problem. Or if he's just got I don't know what the deal is. If it's just the holidays and this is what we're going on with, I don't know. I don't know what the reason why he wasn't there. He should have been there, especially with this kind of seriousness going on. He said he would be here today, so I don't know. Jackie, I hope Ryan answered your question there, since the new person was already in the position. I think he's already answered that question. If he's not, let us know. Listen, I mean, we could spend the next 10 weeks talking about this. I don't want to keep you on all night and chew up your evening. Is there anything else specifically that you want me to show or anything, or that you want to, I mean, I don't know, I know you got to work in the morning, do all that, so I don't want to hold up your time, but is there anything that you think the people need to see, or anything that you want them to see?
I would say, first of all, for anyone who may think that I was being a little harsh, listen, that conversation would have went probably, it could have been a lot softer delivery if there would have been just the slightest bit of contrition on Tanya's part and acceptance that she deviated outside the rules and standards of what's acceptable, right? This is taxpayer money. You don't get to willy-nilly it, right? And if there would have just been that little bit of self-accountability there, then I think the way I delivered my questions would have been probably a little different, probably a lot different. But unfortunately, I had to keep hammering down on her because she was unwilling to accept responsibility that what she done was incorrect and not the way that we're supposed to do it going forward. Listen, no, the only thing I would say, and it's totally up to you, that moment when we were going over the, I think it's just the 3-hour mark, that's kind of exciting with Fred and all of us about our conversations about the oh shit, I can't think of the name of it, what we were talking about. The encumbrance. I mean, there's so many incidents in this 5-hour meeting, but yeah, that was something. But that's up to you. I don't know what you got planned for your show.
Yeah. No, I just, I mean, there was another incident where just, I mean, we can just tell them about that. Well, I can go to that 3-hour mark. There was another incident where this exact same thing happened with Pam McCam and the HR director, and thank God in that situation, Matt actually voted no with you. Yeah. And because of that, you guys actually were able to kill it. So she didn't get what she wanted in that situation.
That one was for $10,000.
Yeah.
And the advice I gave to them was, you should go back and look at your budget and see where you can find that money to transfer it. If you need that money, listen, the commissioners and the sheriff's department are the two largest departments in the entire county government. If counties, much smaller departments, can find $5,000 here, $10,000 there, then I have no doubt in my mind that the commissioner's department can find $10,000 somewhere at the end of the year that wasn't spent and transfer that money in, rather than us making additional appropriation. And that was my suggestion to them. I don't think they wanted to hear it, but that's what we ended up telling them to do.
Well, and what's funny about that is during the argument before the vote, they told you they've already looked and it's not there and they can't find it. What's going to be funny is when they do find it and they go through it. So that's going to be very interesting too. And unfortunately, I mean, that should be a learning point for Tanya, but seeing how she was today, I think that's just going to go over their head. But here we're at let me see, we're almost at the 3-hour mark. Was it right at 3?
I believe so.
Hardship on us when we have to have an invoice in order to turn in a claim.
Yeah.
The way that's brought out.
Well, there's only one way to bring it out, and that's direct.
Straightforward. I want to back up
but I do see both sides of the coin, and I want
hold on.
Yeah, that's when she said we were being hateful.
December 31st.
Yeah.
I'm also the first one to tell you that I don't think December 31st is probably an accurate date because of the workload that it's going to put on them. But the other side note to that is department heads should be doing some forethought and planning to not dump 100 appropriation requests on somebody on December 31st.
Yeah, and I mean,
I don't find that to be like unreasonable, right?
Yeah.
I think there have been issues in years past with appropriations or with encumbrances. Our encumbrances didn't come out of our accounts this year, I don't think, or until like March. So I get it that it's a time thing, but I also believe that the state law is written the way that it is so that we don't have to go through a process to spend money.
Should I back up from here, or is this where we're at 254?
It's right at close to around the 3 minute, maybe 2:59-ish.
Okay. Well, I'll just let it play from here because she's going to speak here in just 1 second and say that thing, and we'll just go forward from here.
Appropriation request, whatever the case may be. So I would strongly urge that you guys just vote this down, and then maybe have some communication between department heads, the auditor's office, the council, whoever, and sit down and come up with something that makes sense from year to year. Because this was not something that I don't think any of us were prepared to that was coming down the pike. So.
Yeah, and I heard that because, and since I'm the one talking about communication, we should have done that we should have improved that, no two ways about it. The encumbrance module, though, as part of the financial system was approved back in July, so that isn't new. How they're entering for this year, it's going to be different.
And I get that, but long about August, September, maybe we should have started this conversation, right?
Sure.
It didn't even come before us until September, October.
Yeah.
We were still in budget season.
Bygones.
Yeah.
Okay. Point taken. Emily?
So I just want to say, coming from this side, it would hinder us, and I agree with him, although coming from the auditor side, just seeing the workload that's put on Keita with all the stuff that's under her hat, I understand the need to move that date up. I think that it just kind of puts hardship on us when we have to have an invoice in order to turn in a claim. And sometimes at the end of the year, that's what we're waiting on. We know this bill is coming, we know it's going to be due, and we have it built into our budget, and we can't give you that bill until we have the invoice, but we can't take it out of 25 budget. So that is where the problem lies. Again, I don't turn in 50 encumbrances. It's usually 1 or 2. But I do see both sides of the coin. And I want the auditor's office to understand that, coming from me especially. I totally understand their workload. I know what they go through. I work with them on a daily basis. I work with them personally. And I feel like they're getting thrown under the bus a lot. And I do feel for them. And I just want to stick up for them a little bit.
So last year there was roughly 200 and more than 200 encumbrances on this list.
And so I say, but our cutoff day was like earlier in the month. So a lot of us had things that came after that. But I'm saying towards the end of the month, I'm not turning things in on the 27th, 28th, 29th. Mine's coming in at the 15th usually. So she is getting encumbrances, absolutely. But they're not on the 8th, at least for me. They're not on the 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th. It's usually because that cutoff's well before that. And so I don't know what the answer is. I don't have the answer. I'm not here to solve that problem. I'm here to say that I see both sides of the coin. I see the auditor's issue with manpower and getting those put in and having to close books. But I also see a department head side of saying, you can't cut off our funding, because it's built into our budget.
May I comment on something? I would just like to point out that I do understand, we all have to deal with all the state laws. You have to have an invoice, you have to have this, you have to have that. So I do get that burden sometimes when you're waiting on the official documents to make it official. However, if you have placed an order, I would just like to say that if you place an order, your invoice is going to be coming. That is something that they can bring to finance if you order it prior to the meeting. That is, even though you don't have the official paperwork for it to be an encumbrance, it's still something that can be brought to the table saying, hey, I'm going to be encumbering.
I mean, I know they've worked with me on where I had a bill and I'm like, I have to have this check cut, but all I have is this receipt. I don't have an actual invoice. And they worked with me on things like that. So I know things can be worked out. Again, I think it's about communication. I think it's about two-way and putting that out there and seeing what can and can't be done. I think every situation can be a case-by-case basis. But I just want to say, thank you to the auditor. They've always worked with me very much on a personal level. And I've had lots of corrections this year, and I've worked with Keita on a lot of that. But I just feel like we're all human and some grace needs to be given, and that it's been a sucky year for a lot of people. And I just feel like there's just a lot of hate, and I don't know, it's just kind of sucky.
Let me speak to that for a second.
Real quick, I don't. First of all, I don't know if something's going on in her life. I hope it's not. I don't know why this year's been a sucky year. It's just been a regular government year and people doing government things. I don't know if something's going on. I hope it's not. I hope everything's okay there. But this is just a normal year. But so far I watched every bit of this meeting. Something's wrong with me. I watched all 4 hours and 56 minutes, and I didn't hear any hate. I never heard anybody talking hateful. I never heard anybody raising their voice. I never heard anyone cussing. I never heard anything crazy going on. So there was no hate here. And I hate that. So now we'll hear what Ryan says.
Important thing, a distinction needs to be met. Pointing out issues for accountability should never be classified as hate.
That's the way that's brought out.
Well, there's only one way to bring it out, and that's direct, straightforward, and honest. That's the only way I operate. I'm not going to beat around the bush with it. And I think with what we're discussing with this particular issue plays into that. What we're talking about with this ordinance treats a symptom, right? It treats a symptom, but it doesn't treat the problem. Part of the symptom is we don't want to dump a bunch of work unduly, right? Which again, I think can be corrected with some good professional courtesy and communication. There may be a couple that have to go through, but good quality communication will fix most of this. But this ordinance is trying to fix the symptom, not the problem. And what I'm getting at is, the reason I asked the number about employees, 14, just in this backfill report, there's 3 employees in the last month that have been swapped out in that office. That's 20% in 1 month, right? This ordinance is the symptom. The turnover is the problem, okay? And we have one very, very critical office that has repeated turnover issues. You can make all the ordinances in the world you want to try to ease the burden. We got to be able to maintain employees that we have, and we got to be able to keep the employees that we have. Things happen, people leave, I get it, but at some point we got to be accountable for our own actions and how we run our departments and what follows from that. And unfortunately, this is part of the fallout. And I say that completely unhatefully.
I would suggest that maybe like after the first week, if we're gonna, seems like we're gonna vote this down. So that we maybe after finance, or we pull together the finance committee with the auditor's office and or a handful of department folks and see if there is change needed. Because I'm not,
we did vote that down.
The ordinance.
Friendly reminder every November to get your encumbrance.
Sure did.
as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
It was not wanted by no department heads. Nobody wanted it.
Yeah, nobody
let's all
wanted
work
it.
together and help each other out here.
So now, is there
Things
something
to
else
get
that happens here with
chaotic at the end of
Fred?
the year.
Honestly, I'll be honest, man. It's
Or
all run
was that
together.
it?
I'm not sure. That might have been part of it.
Mr. Flanagan, Mr. Hughes,
No,
I'm not 100%
Mr.
sure.
Mr. Webb,
I was shocked
Mr.
that
Whitehead.
that deal earlier with her
Mr.
happened so
Cantz?
early in the meeting.
Yes.
I didn't realize it was that early.
Ms. Piper. No.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
So who knows? I would encourage you guys to check it out. There's plenty of opportunities for excitement.
Oh, wow. Tweety Bird said she didn't hear any hate either. Man, we are really growing. This is a season of thanks and happy good tidings and cheer. I love it. Tweety Bird said I didn't hear any hate either, and that's amazing. Listen, if you want to hear just insanity when you're just walking around the house or whatever, put it on playback speed at 1.25. You get through it a little bit quicker. But it's definitely worth the listen. You can catch it on the Delaware County government side. You can also catch it. I mean, I would prefer you watching it from our link, obviously, but wherever you watch it from, you can see the whole meeting uncut, the whole 4 hours and 56 minutes.
Just real quick, just during the meeting, I opened up the links, and I believe there were 2 people watching on the county's YouTube site. And I opened up your guys' link, and there was like 29, 30 people watching. So, yeah, there's no and there are no comments on the other side. And when we were on Facebook, there were dozens and dozens of comments. But, the commissioners made sure that they shut that down, and people don't interact no more.
That is so maddening. And I hope that when Steven goes in there, that I can get in his ear and have that brought back. Look, there's nothing wrong with using YouTube. It's fantastic. Use it. But there is absolutely no reason why they cannot put that on Facebook and have it run on Facebook, because that's where the people from Delaware County, you know what they did? It's my belief, if they now went back to Facebook, you still wouldn't have many people watching, because people wouldn't know. The damage already done. And people's like, well, I don't watch that. I'm okay with that. I do like that we, because I will tell you, before we started live streaming them, you guys would have around 20 or 30 people that would watch. And I'm glad that people have came over our way. I think a lot of that is not really your fault. It's the city's fault because of how they've done comments and stuff. People realize that they can come on and watch and comment here, and they're not going to get deleted or marked off or whatever. And so that's what happened. And so now people just watch the county meetings on here too, which is fine. But yeah, I was watching it from our end, and then on my laptop I was watching the counties, and I think David Williams was bouncing back and forth from both. But there were very few people that were watching or commenting on the county side, and that's such a loss, because there used to be a lot of people that would watch on Facebook, and that's really
Well,
a major loss.
if I could real fast, I want
sure.
to encourage you guys to continue watching, whether you watch it on this side or if you watch it on the
wherever.
county side, because in the last several meetings, there is no Star Press representation no more. We used to have a newspaper reporter. Penny Cup would be in every meeting. And, we've had some significant things happen. We basically banned tax abatements for solar farms, and that was never even mentioned in the newspaper. A huge development. Today we're doing abatements. We did 5-6 different ordinances today. There was no one in the newspaper there. So studies have shown that when newspapers go away from reporting on local politics, corruption then soon follows, right? So if there's no one there reporting on what's going on in the political scene, people will get outside of bounds and corruption will happen. So you are the defense to that. Even though the newspaper's not reporting on it, you guys have got to watch and be engaged and pay attention. I know they're boring meetings, but we got to keep our eye on them, and they have to know, us elected officials have to know that people are watching at all times, right?
Yeah.
I appreciate the accountability, even from people who I think are nuts and hate on me for all the wrong reasons. I still gather the accountability and their perspective. I don't live in an echo chamber where I just constantly hear people telling me what I want to hear. So your participation is crucial.
Yeah, that is very true. And that's one of the things that we've pushed, obviously, in the evening time. That's one of the reasons I get people that'll gripe at me and say, well, why don't you put our comments up on the screen? And I say, because when I'm live streaming a meeting, to me, that's not my time. That's the people's time. And I'm okay with people watching that don't agree with me, people watching that hate me or whatever. And so I leave that blank. If people want to go on there and comment, the comments are there. They're on the side. They can comment all they want, have at it. But the meeting, I leave the meetings pretty much pristine, what they are. I'll put my logo up there or whatever because I'm a vain son of a bitch. But other than that, I leave it be. And this is my time, so that's what that is. But yeah, I was going to ask you, have you heard from Pentecup in a while?
No, I think I mentioned something to him during the when we were putting the abatement in place or the ordinance to ban the abatements, and he made it clear that he'll pass it on to Doug, whatever, but Walker. But they've only got 2 guys covering the entire newspaper. I mean, this is how bad the newspaper is. I went and bought a newspaper on Saturday because I needed it, not to read, but for my bird cage for the bottom, because it's cheaper than buying all the shaved wood and stuff. So I went and bought a newspaper. And get this, I swear to God, I bought this on Saturday and it was $4. And I'm like, $4? And I'm like, what the hell is this? And I said, I've already read this shit 3 days ago. Why is this $4? And she says, well, and besides that, we don't even have a Saturday paper no more. And I didn't even dawn on me until I got in the car. And I'm like, today's Saturday. What are you talking about? So I looked at the paper and it said Sunday. It was the Sunday paper on Saturday. And that's why it was $4. So they're cutting down their times. They're cutting down their days of delivery. They have 2 reporters. They're not even covering government at all. I mean, I don't know what the hell they're covering, to be honest.
What are they covering? That is the thing. That is
only thing I
insane.
see is Trump's bad. and bad stuff about that. Other than that, you got no high school sports no more. We used to have one reporter dedicated just to high school sports, nothing on
Yeah.
politics.
Yeah.
It's a sad, sad day. It's a sad day. But one thing I'll say though before I take off though is we are gonna have those board appointments for the December 17th. We're gonna make those appointments. I encourage all of you who are interested to submit your names. I will be sharing the graph as soon as Jessica puts it out. If she doesn't put it out in the next couple of days, I'll create my own and I'll share it to where it can be shared around with everyone. You guys can see exactly which board and committee seats are coming open. Some of them you have to be Republican, some of them you have to be Democrat. Yeah, I know it's weird, but they require politically balanced boards in some cases. And I'll put it out there for you to digest and see if that's something you want to do. If you do, you can email your interest to me. You can email it to any other council member. If you do send it to me, I'll make sure we get it to the right people. But I definitely want some choices to choose from. This will be my last meeting going out on the 17th, and I would love to have a good group of people to choose from who want to serve the community on a board or committee. And let's stop the business as usual approach to Delaware County politics.
Yeah, that's really needed, and we will definitely cover the last meeting and whatnot, and I'd like to have you on. We can set up a time. I'd like to have you on towards the end, maybe after the meeting or right near the end. But I would definitely like to have you on, and once things are over, would definitely like to have you on. From time to time, whenever you got something to say, or when you follow stuff or whatever. Would definitely like to have you on and get your input on things and see what goes on with that. But I definitely think, we went from we didn't really speak probably for your first year, almost 2 years on the council. And, I would talk to you just in passing or emailing you a thing, here or there. But, I definitely appreciate a lot of what you've done on the council. And, I think that the council's going to be so weird going into January and just listening to how short the meetings are or how little information. I don't know what they're going to do. It's going to be really weird. It's going to go back to how it was. I hated Delaware County Council meetings in the past because it was nothing. It just keep this in mind. It's going to be like the commissioners meetings. And if you watch the commissioners meetings, like this last one, they bring up a thing, they talk about it. They don't talk about what it is. They read the number, they read the title, and they vote, and they're out in 20 minutes. That's what the county council meetings are going to be like. So,
well, it's been an incredible journey. I said this when I started. Obviously, I was eager to serve a second term, but I said this when I started that my intention was to serve at least 4 years, and if it ends up only being 4 years, I'm content with that. My goal was to come in, disrupt the business as usual approach in Delaware County politics. I wanted to make my mark. I wanted to make an impact, and I wanted to disrupt what I thought was an imperfect system. And it's been quite the journey. And you know what? I've felt each and every one of you along with me the entire ride, and it's been an honor. It's been an honor, and I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and let's all count our blessings for what we have.
All right, very good, Ryan. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming on, and we will definitely talk to you again.
You guys, thank you for having me on, and enjoy your evening.
Yep, good. Thank you. Have a good Thanksgiving, man.
You too.
Bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Ryan Webb, Delaware County Councilor at Large, America's Councilman, Republican Councilor for Delaware County for another month, a little over a month from now, and that was his take. Listen, we could have started at 6:00, and we could talk till 2:00, and probably not have covered everything. And today's meeting was wild. I was talking to a couple different people. I was talking to a couple different people about today's meeting. I was talking to an attorney and then just a couple politicos, and Muncie has had some humdingers. We've been to Muncie meetings where we went in at 7. Used to we'd go at 7:30, 7 or 7, and we've not got out until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. That's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. That's a 7-hour meeting. I remember that one meeting where we didn't get out. It was a 7-hour long meeting. And that's absolutely insanity. They took like 4 breaks. And it was complete insanity. Like Ryan said, I think the longest Delaware County commissioners meeting or council meeting that I can recall has been topped out at 3 hours. And so today was definitely a day. And I want to show you here just briefly, real quick before we roll. I do want to show you this because I want people to be aware that maybe in hearing it, you don't really understand or you don't really see or get a full understanding. But the Delaware County Council agenda today that we worked from, I of course posted it. I posted it out so people could see it. But the meeting the agenda was not like a big agenda. Here's the agenda that they worked on. They worked from today. And so here's the Delaware County, November 26th, call to order, Pledge of Allegiance, roll call. Okay, so here's the where the meeting starts. Approval of the agenda, approval of the October 22nd council, transfers and appropriation agenda. Okay, this line right here, these 3 lines took that second thing took 2.5 hours today. So that top thing took 2.5 hours. Then we got down in here to these ordinances and resolutions, and all of this, plus they added one, took another 2 hours. So these first things took 4 hours. Then the rest of this took about 56 minutes. So, that's all there was. There have been Muncie City Council meetings that have been 4 and 5 pages that have not taken the amount of time that today's Delaware County Council meeting. And I'm going to chalk a lot of that up to inefficiency. It wasn't the questions that were being asked. It wasn't even the arguments that were being had. It was just the bumbling. Jessica has been on the council for such a long time now. She's very much the Jerry Dishman of the Delaware County. She just is not an effective chair. And I don't know what they're going to do. And I hate saying this. I think that the chair, the president next year should be Bill Hughes. Bill has said he will not take it. He will not serve as president. Next up, I don't know. I don't want it to be Jessica again. I have a sneaking suspicion that it's going to be Matt Kantz. I think it's going to be Matt Kantz. And again, I'm going to say, Matt's still on my shit list. I'm probably on Matt's shit list. He's got nothing to be mad at me about. But he's going to continue to be on the shit list until something changes. But it is what it is. I have a suspicion. I feel very strongly that we will not see him run for council again. I think that he is working himself into a position to run for commissioner. And there's a period in time where I would have been happy about that. but he is going to have to get his head out of his ass to run for commissioner. He's going to have to do things differently. He is very much brought up in the school of Ridenhour. He does not like talking about things. He does not think. He believes in communication. He believes in communicating. He wants better communication. And what he means by that is he's not really a fan of questions. He does not want people to ask questions. He looks at himself as being smarter than everybody, and he wants to be able to communicate what happens after the fact, after he, the brain trust, gets it all done. Then he communicates what has happened to us, and we say, oh, thank you, Matt. Thank you, sir. And that's the communication that he wants. It's interesting to me that he backs Brand. I think Brand is going to run things so much differently than what Kantz does. My hope is that he will gravitate further away from Jessica and more to Brand, and that he will learn from Brand. That's my only hope. Other than that, I'm going to be, if that does not happen soon, I will be working hard to blast Matt as much as I can and get rid of him. And he's going to be one of those people it's going to be hard to get rid of because he's such a good, he looks like a good candidate. And he's the kind of people that people like. That's fine. He leaves a lot to be desired. And I hope he picks it up. I hope he figures it out. I hope he gets his head out of his ass and figures it out. I don't know. But that's that. Would you like communication by Morse code? At this point, anything. Smoke signals would be fine. Reading the tea leaves, whatever, as long as there's something. But yeah, it's real bad. Like Dan, he will tell you what he wants you to know when he wants you. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. So that's that. Listen, I want to say just this last thing before we go. And I wasn't even going to say anything about this, but I talked to somebody today that said I probably should. And they said that I needed to say something about it. And I was like, I don't want to, but I guess I'll do it. Maybe I'll do it this one time and maybe not say it again. I don't know. We'll see. I gotta get this thing pulled up. We're almost done. We're going to be done in just a few minutes here. I just want to pull this thing up here and, here we go. Tell you what's going on here. So, I would not have probably mentioned anything about this, but I was talking to somebody that said I probably needed to. So, this is a thing that has happened here. Normally I have no problem telling you all what a super genius I am, how smart I am, and what a politically astute mind that I am. And this is the very best political commentary that you can get here, and you're not going to find it better anywhere else. I have no problem telling you that. I do not like when other people talk about me I can tell you what a narcissist I am, but I don't like hearing it from other people. And mostly because I also have no problem being self-deprecating, and I make fun of myself more than anybody else. And so, I know I'm an idiot, so I've got no problem, playing both sides of that. But I really have a hard time when I hear other people say things like that. So this is kind of weird for me to do this, but I might as well put it out here. So I guess I have been nominated for some kind. I don't know. I don't even really know exactly what's going on with this. I've been nominated for some kind of award here. I think Kate knows more about it, but this is the LPIN. This is the Libertarian Party of Indiana 2025 award nominations. Every year, the party recognizes the hard work and passion of those involved in growing the party. We represent these awards at the we present these awards at the Libertarian Party of Indiana convention. With the exception of 2 awards, all winners are granted their award by vote of the LPIN membership. Voting is electronic and will be open to all current LPIN members from January 1st to February 1st, 2025. This will give the convention team time to have the awards produced and ready for presentation in the recipients of the awards banquet dinner on March 29th, 2025. How to nominate, Okay, and so this is really interesting because there's a lot of good people in this. So the Dr. Barbara Boland, a Light of Liberty Award, the recipient is honored as the person most responsible for the growth of the party and dedication to the libertarian cause. Donald Rainwater has been nominated. Through two election cycles, Donald has been a tremendous voice in for liberty and expanded both the reach and perception of the LPIN as a viable political movement in the eyes of voters. Gave the party immense levels of publicity through his runs for governor in 2020 and 2024. And then there's Ken Fitzloff. I've spoke to him from Vigo County, ran a great campaign and spread the message of liberty across the entire district. Andrew Horning, my buddy from Owen County. Andrew's a good guy. We were going to have him on, but we just didn't get around to it. Andrew's consistently stepped forward to serve and run for office for many years. His longtime dedication is without questioning and has done much to grow the party. Andy has served the party for many years and has done an excellent job. Kristen Alexander from Monroe County, one of the two hardest working people in the party, hands down. Kristen has worked tirelessly to maintain and grow the party membership over the past year. She had a major impact on the campaigns of several candidates during the 2024 campaign season. Kristen, in addition to serving as LPIN vice chair, took the very difficult task of being Don Rainwater's campaign manager. She's somebody that I talk to frequently and worked with in those town halls and everything. And so that's been great. Tim Cotton, you see Tim Cotton on our channel watching frequently. Tim's a good guy from up in St. Joe County. Tim dedicated to furthering the Libertarian Party and goes out of his way. Chad Van Ryan, hardest working candidate. Elizabeth, how do you pronounce her name? Coke Lillard? I don't know, but I know she is. I just don't know how to pronounce her last name. It's always been difficult, but she's a great person. I used to deal with her a lot. She was connected to the gentleman that was, I don't know if she was the girlfriend or just a friend of the person that was Don's running mate in 2020. A couple of these other folks here. There's several different awards down through the thing. In this Kevin Bison award here, something strange happened. My name is in there for some unknown reason. Christopher Bilbrey, Delaware County. Mr. Bilbrey is the host of the Political Spotlight podcast on YouTube and Rumble. His podcast focuses on local politics, where he often speaks about libertarian ideas and promotes libertarian candidates. His work to show corruption in local and state government is important for educating voters and highlighting the importance of having more voices in government outside the two-party system. In addition to his 5 nights a week podcast, he also hosted 3 town halls for Donald Rainwater during the 2024 election cycle. So I'm honored to have my name on here with these other people that are much better than myself. And so that's kind of cool. If you are a member of the Libertarian Party, you are able to vote from January 1st through February 1st. I will take this opportunity to inform people that if you haven't been a member of the Libertarian Party and you want to be a member of the Libertarian Party, you can certainly do that. You can join the Libertarian Party. Why should you become a member of the Libertarian Party? Becoming a member of the Libertarian Party allows you to have a voice in anything from county level to national level politics. As Indiana law prevents the LPIN from participating in taxpayer-funded primaries, our membership has the privilege of selecting candidates through your vote power granted from memberships. So I want people to be very aware. This does not stop you. This does not stop you from voting in the Republican primary, voting in the Democrat primary. this does not stop you from having a say in any of that or participating. Unlike the Republicans and the Democrats, you can be a libertarian and you can vote for Republicans and or Democrats in the primary, no issue, and do what you feel you must. There's no rules, just right, basically. I mean, within reason. But for anybody that is interested in this, just FYI, there's an annual membership, an annual triple membership, a lifetime membership, and some of this crazy stuff. But you can essentially join for $25. I'm not somebody that normally likes to do the whole money deal. I will basically only be a whore for money for candidates that I really support. So I'm not telling you to do this. Do it, don't do it. But if you want to do it, it is right here. You can do this by going to lpin.org, and you can sign up for $25 and be a member of
the link for the membership in the chat.
Kate, yeah, Kate put there you go. It's in the chat. So just something that you might be interested in. Like Stumblefoot said, it gives you another option. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you're a Republican, if you're a Democrat, if you're a Libertarian. I don't care if you're an independent, Green Party, an alien. I don't care one way or another. This is just something else to do. Listen, the Libertarian Party on the big L's on the national scene are as screwed up, if not more screwed up than the Republicans and the Democrats. It's all a joke. It's all ignorant. I think they're stupid. I think most small L's state party libertarians will tell you that. There's so many people that talk about how ignorant the big L's are. I don't even know who's in the party because everybody thinks that they're ignorant. That being said, even the state party has some issues, but they're trying. And we do need to get to a point where it doesn't matter if you're an R or a D, or people only win if they're Republicans. We've got to get past that point. Or we've got to get to a point where we start being able to elect actual, honest-to-God, good Republicans, get some normal, good Democrats that can run. Something's got to give because what we currently have is not working. So there it is. Just wanted to bring that up. I probably won't say anything else about it again, but that's that. So there you go. Kate is always recruiting. That is true. Absolutely. That's what she does. Kate is part of Kate's the Libertarian chair for Randolph County. And so for people in Delaware County or Madison County, I don't think that Madison County doesn't have a Libertarian Party. They meet with somebody else. I think they might meet with Henry County. But if you guys are interested, maybe Delaware County could start a party. I certainly don't have the time to be involved with that. I would be involved with a party if they did it, but I'm not going to start it. There's no way I could do that on top of everything else going on. But, if you're a Democrat I think if someone joins and from Democrat, can they meet with you people?
They can come. They just can't vote.
Okay, so they can't even become part of the voting body over there. Isn't there a method in which that can happen?
There's a method by which it can happen, and I've talked to Evan about it, but it's a royal pain in the ass.
Okay. So what would be better is if enough people did it that they could just create a Delaware County Libertarian Party.
And
so
it's paperwork.
Yeah.
It's not hard.
Yeah.
It's not hard. And if somebody over there wanted to do it, I'd be willing to help them.
I'm sure Kate could help with that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that.
I would be happy to help with that.
Yeah. Well, that is that. So just if people's interested in that, get a hold of us. We'll figure it out. We'll figure something out. So that's that. All right. Well, we will be back here tomorrow. What is tomorrow? Whoa, tomorrow's Wednesday. All right. You got a lot of cooking to do tomorrow? Okay.
Well, Liam and I are going to be baking tomorrow.
I mean, it's not like we can do a show or no. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we'll talk about this here real quick, right before we leave, right before we run out. So tomorrow's the 27th. So here's what we'll do, folks. We'll do a show tomorrow. We'll do a show Wednesday night. We won't do a show Thursday. Thursday's our day off anyways. So we won't do a show Thursday's, our last night. We'll do a show tomorrow. No show on Thursday. No show on Thursday. I might go live or whatever. Like a short thing or whatever, maybe something from TikTok. Hey, I just made it to where I can actually do like the lives on TikTok the way that people do. So I just got a notification of that the other day. So I got to see what's going on with that. So maybe we'll do that or something on Thursday just to say Happy Turkey Day. Probably won't go live Friday because I have things going on and that's a big day for people and we're normally off. So I might go live on Saturday, but I'll fill you guys in. I'll let you know more tomorrow about that. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. We will do a show tomorrow. We'll be here tomorrow at 9 p.m. like normal, like regular. 9 p.m. tomorrow, right here, right back here. We'll see y'all back here. See you tomorrow. Have a great day. We'll see you back here tomorrow evening. We'll go from there. You guys have a good one. A big shout out to Ryan for being on. Thank you, Ryan. And we will see you guys all tomorrow. Good night. God bless. Goodbye. Stay away from the trunk shrimp. That could be a killer. Absolutely.